on my first day for burning ice. Not that easy to do, but I pulled it off. They said I would never cook in the big leagues, but I proved them wrong. Just a few years ago, I was at Fenway Park making hot dogs. Totally cooked in the big leagues. Of course, I was fired. So my hot dogs were on fire. I was supposed to get them hot, I said. Now, I don't mean to brag, but I was recently named the #1 chef to watch by the Boston Fire Department. Keep an eye on me. Now, a friend of mine said to be a great chef, you need to master at least one duck recipe, so I tried them all. Duck l'orange, duck confit, Peking duck, and turducken. And the only duck recipe I could master was the recipe for a great Boston duck tour. Our first set of the day is on our left. It's the Christian Science Plaza, the world headquarters of the Church of Christian Science. In the center of the plaza is the reflecting pool. It is over 600 feet long. It is so long they had to account for the curvature of the earth when they were building it so water flows off all four sides evenly. You're going to see some really old stuff today and some new stuff. Some stuff in between. But nothing from the future. If you're seeing stuff from the future, you go second college. Right over on our left, there's this building, the white building with they're still under construction. It's kind of hard to tell, but they're still working on it. When that building's done, it's going to be the new North American headquarters for a company called Lego. Yeah, it's the new Lego building. When we make this turn, on our left will be the oldest active fire station in the city of Boston. Ladder 15, engine 33. This firehouse has been here since the late 1800s. Oldest firehouse in Boston. Still one of the busiest. They get over 1,000 calls a year, and most of those have nothing to do with me cooking. Now, if you're looking for a souvenir while you're in Boston, that's a great place to get it. You can go in there, buy an authentic Boston Fire Department t-shirt, and all the proceeds go to charity. Coming up on our left, we're going to go by the world's smallest Trader Joe's. You go in the front door, you go down the escalator, you grab your bags and go shopping, you're already in line to check out. That is not an exaggeration when it's busy in there. On our right, we're going to go by the Heinz Convention Center, one of the many convention centers here in Boston. This one is named for Mayor John Heinz. Now, after the convention center, on our right, we're going to go by the main entrance of the Prudential Center Mall. Now, we left from the Prudential Center, but we leave by the back door. Now we're going to go by the front door. And on this side of the mall, there's some really cool stuff. We got Italy. Really great Italian market and restaurants. Great place to grab lunch after the tour if you're feeling hungry. They also have a Tesla dealership on this side of the mall. Great place to buy a $75,000 electric car after the tour if you're in the mood for that. On the left, we're going to go by the largest Apple store in the United States. This Apple store is 3 stories tall. So it's got 3 whole floors of iPhones, MacBooks, Apple Watches, yet it still takes 5 hours to get a Genius Bar appointment. So Boston was founded all the way back in the year 1630 by a group of people called the Puritans. The Puritans, they were living over in England. They were being persecuted for their religious beliefs. They didn't like that all that much. So they saved up some money. They bought some boats. And in March of 1630, they set sail from a town called Boston, England. They came across the Atlantic Ocean, and they arrived here, a 1.5 square mile piece of land known as the Shawmut Peninsula. When the Puritans get to the Shawmut Peninsula, there is only one person living there at the time, a guy named William Blackstone. William Blackstone is also from England, which is convenient. He's able to show the Puritans around, show them where all the fresh water is to drink. So the Puritans decided to stay on the Shawmut Peninsula, but they renamed it Boston, as they had set sail from Boston, England. And the Puritans weren't very good at naming things. Up next, we're going to be crossing the finish line of the Boston Marathon. So if you look over the sides of the duck, there's a blue and yellow line painted in the middle of the street. And we're going to cross it in 3, 2, 1. Woo! We did it! We did it for 26.2 miles. Let's give ourselves a quack for that. Order up!
Quack, quack, quack.
alive and home to the oldest congregation in Boston. Congregation dates back to 1669. On our right, this is called Copley Square. They're renovating it right now. It's a chandelier store. So if you're in the market for a new chandelier, that's the place to go. Now this was not always a fancy chandelier store. Look at this place. It's like a museum. That's because that's what it originally was. It was the Museum of Natural History. The Museum of Natural History closed in the 1940s to move to a larger location. When they did, they changed their name to the Museum of Science, which was crafted by Louis Comfort Tiffany himself, the inventor of Tiffany glass. Now, on our left, we're going to go by the oldest public botanical garden in the United States, the Boston Public Garden. It has been here since 1837. Very beautiful park. In the center of the public garden, we're going to see some water. It is called the Public Garden Lagoon. And out on the lagoon, we'll be able to see the swan boats. Now, they're like, oh dear, this is where it goes. Not what I signed up for, but suddenly the life jackets make sense. Now, I tell everybody that takes a Boston Duck tour, when you get the chance, you gotta ride the swan boats. Great way to see this park, very scenic, very relaxing. It's a great value as well. Like I said, it only costs $4.50 to ride for adults, less for kids and seniors. It's a family-owned and operated business. The Paget family has owned the swan boat since the 1877 when they were started by Robert Paget. But when they made Boston Common in 1634, there was no land to the left of us. Everything to the left used to be the Charles River, up until the 1800s when they filled it in. So everything we've driven by up until this point of the tour has been built on top of artificial land known as landfill. Now I'm going to tell you more about landfill later on. Right now, ready? Order up.
Quack, 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 quack.
The reason we cannot quack once you're on this corner is we're in a very fancy neighborhood. They're the very fancy people. This neighborhood is called Beacon Hill. Today is one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the United States. It's also Boston's first planned neighborhood. Now, on this street corner to the left, once stood the cottage of William Blackstone, the first European settler of the Shawmut Peninsula. That's where he lived for 5 whole years, all by himself before the Puritans arrived. Now, after living with the Puritans for a few years, Blackstone would sell his land to them. That became Boston Common, and he moved down to Rhode Island. We're going to go by the most important house on Beacon Hill, the Massachusetts State House. Hey, who's that out front? Well, it's John F. Kennedy, 35th President of the United States and one of 4 presidents born in Massachusetts. The State House was designed by the architect Charles Bulfinch. The front entrance is named after him, the Bulfinch entrance. Across the street from the Bulfinch entrance on our right is the Robert Gould Shaw Memorial, a memorial to Colonel Robert Gould Shaw from the Massachusetts 54th Regiment. The first all-African-American, all-volunteer regiment formed in the North to fight in the South in the American Civil War. On our left is General Joseph Hooker, Civil War general and horse enthusiast. And then there's Mary Dyer, martyr for religious freedom and bench enthusiast. Mary Dyer was a Quaker, lived here during the Puritan times. Puritans came to Boston for religious freedom. They were hypocrites, didn't give that freedom to other people. Didn't like Mary Dyer preaching her Quaker beliefs in the city of Boston, so they hanged her. Very sad. But 120 years later, John Adams wrote the Massachusetts Bill of Rights, which was inspired by Mary Dyer to include freedom of religion. On the back side of the State House, we got 3 more monuments. We got the Firefighter Memorial. We got the Revolutionary War Monument, Big Eagle up on top. And all the way down the park is the Massachusetts Law Enforcement Memorial. On our left, we are going to see a dinosaur! Look out! See that Band-Aid on his shoulder? It's been there for years. Can't get it off. It's got such tiny arms. This is the Museum of Science. Haven't been to the Museum of Science yet, you gotta go. It's fun for all ages. So many great exhibits. There's a planetarium, you can learn about the stars. There's a butterfly garden with real live butterflies. No, they actually closed. You can't go to the butterfly garden. They got a brand new robot exhibit that replaced the butterfly garden. On our right is the North American headquarters of a Swedish company called EF Education First. They provide student travel programs in over 100 countries around the world. And we reached that point of the tour, everyone. We're about to go into the river. Woo! it. But before we go to the river, I got to give you the safety speech. And I know it's very distracting. We got a skate park on one side, train tracks on the other side, but bear with me. Safety first. Time for the safety speech. In the event of an emergency, we need to put on life jackets for those of you who weigh over 90 pounds. Life jackets on the left with the yellow tabs. Under 90 pounds, so ones on the right with the red tabs. If you use the metric system, I'm sorry, I don't know what they're for in Celsius. We have flotation rings at the front and back of the duck, as well as fire extinguishers at the front and back of the duck. Fire suppression system for the engine. VHF marine radio to contact the Coast Guard if need be. Speaking of the Coast Guard, Captain Rob here is a Coast Guard licensed captain. I mean, so am I, but he's the captain for this tour. If y'all want to do a mutiny, let me know. In the highly unlikely event, we have to abandon ship, which never happened in the 30-year history of Boston Duck Tours. But if it does, we can simply go over the sides, out this front window, or down the back steps the way we came in, and there is no smoking on the water. All right, so we got to wait for the duck in front of us to get a safe distance ahead. Splash! We did, everyone. We made it. We are in the Charles River. We're up now. We're a boat now. We're a boat now. Boat now. Boat now. We're a boat now. We're a boat now. We're a boat now. Boat now. Boat now. We're a boat now. We're a boat now. We're a boat now. Boat now. Boat now. This river begins in a place called Hopkinton, Massachusetts, which is also where the Boston Marathon begins. It ends in Boston Harbor. Boston Harbor was the location of one of the most important events leading up to the American Revolution, the Boston Tea Party. The Boston Tea Party occurred on December 16, 1773. A group of martial law. The ports closed, and it will remain closed until the colonists paid for the tea they destroyed. You know what? They never did. Instead, they started the American Revolution. You're wondering why the river has walls all of a sudden. It is because we are going through a lock. This is the lock of the old Charles River Dam. This dam separated the river from the harbor until the year 1978, and this new dam was further downriver. Because the river and the harbor are separated by a dam, makes Charles River a very safe, very smooth body of water. And speaking of very safe and very smooth, Rob's going to sound the horn for us. We sound the horn there because we are going around a blind corner, and we need any boats on the other side of this wall to know that we are coming. It is safer that way, and we take safety very seriously here at Boston Duck Tours. Okay. On the right side of the river is Cambridge, Massachusetts. Cambridge, Massachusetts, different city from Boston, even though it was founded the exact same year, 1630. And it was founded by the Puritans, just like Boston. The Puritans are building the college at Newtown. A wealthy young minister passed away, and in his will, it is half of his fortune and his entire library to the new college. So they decided to name the college after him, and that man's name was John Harvard. We're going to be going by the campus of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, with the best science and engineering schools anywhere in the world. And did you know that over 40 NASA astronauts have gone to MIT, including Buzz Aldrin, second man to walk on the moon? Right, Neil, look at me, big smile. There we go, great job, phone. And further upriver is another bridge. That's the Harvard Bridge. Harvard Bridge doesn't actually go to Harvard. What's your name? What is it, Evelyn? Harvard Bridge goes to MIT, very smart bridge, loves math. Behind the Harvard Bridge, there's a white sign with a red triangle on it. That's the Citgo sign in Kenmore Square, right next to Fenway Park, where the Boston Red Sox play. And the Red Sox got a game there this afternoon. In the skyline, we're going to see three really tall buildings. These are the three tallest buildings in all of Boston. Building first to the right with the flat roof, that's One Dolphin Place, third tallest building in Boston. Building next to it with the antenna on top, that's the Prudential Tower, second tallest building in Boston. That's where we left from today. The The top few floors of the Prudential Tower are an observation deck. It's called View Boston. You should go. It's a lot of fun. There's an indoor park, an outdoor park, a restaurant, a lounge, and we got some very blue skies today, so it's a great day to check out View Boston at the Prudential Center. Go back underneath the Longfellow Bridge, as we do. Look up at the top of the bridge. Look at the towers up there. The towers look like salt and pepper shakers. Some people call this the Salt and Pepper Bridge. Also, the bridge, very well seasoned. Boom, that's a cooking show from the chef. The bridge was built in 1906, but it looks practically brand new. That's because it was rebuilt between 2013 and 2018 at a cost of $300 million. They rebuilt the bridge from the river up, piece by piece, all the way down to the rivets. On the Cambridge side of the river, this part of Cambridge is called East Cambridge or Kendall Square. This area is filled with high-tech companies, pharmaceuticals, bioengineering, and a place where you can rent kayaks. But that wasn't always the case. This used to be a very industrial area filled with factories, glass factories, paint factories, even candy factories. You know, little candy hearts you get on Valentine's Day, the ones that say things like "Be mine," then you eat them, they taste like chalk. Those were originally made in East Cambridge at the New England. So dirty. A band called Standell for a song about the Charles River called "Dirty Water." Love that dirty water, Boston, my home. That song's about the Charles River. Standells, Boston's not their home. They're from San Diego, California. That's how dirty this river was. People 3,000 miles away writing songs about it. Now today, the Charles River, very clean. In fact, it's been called the cleanest urban river in the United States. How clean is that? You can rent a kayak. You go kayaking on the... Yeah, I dared a kid to swim across this river. You know, I pulled somebody out. I'm a hero. Nobody ever claps. This doesn't count now. Now it takes the efforts of a lot of organizations to get and keep this river clean. Those organizations include the Environmental Protection Agency, the Charles River Park. The only part of the park that remains is this little section on our left with the green gazebo. Now we're going to cruise back through the lock of the old Charles River Dam. On our right, we are getting a fantastic view of the Leonard Zakim Bridge. From here, it looks like a sailboat on the water. Very beautiful. Great place to grab a picture of it if you haven't already. And Rob's going to sound the horn for us one more time. So this bridge is named after Leonard P. Zakim. He was a civil rights activist. He spent his life bridging people together. So they named a bridge after him. How appropriate. And when the bridge was dedicated to his memory, his favorite rock star, Bruce Springsteen, the boss, played a concert up on top of that bridge. About a year ago, it was a private tour, and everybody on board was from Vancouver, Canada. And when I mentioned Bruce Springsteen, all at once, they all went, woo! Like, why are you so excited about Bruce Springsteen? They're like, he's from Canada! No. He's from New Jersey. They're like, yeah, but he was born in Canada. And to tell them, literally his most famous song, it's called Born in the USA. They're still believing. All right. Oh, hey, we're on the river. Let's hear for Rob. Hello. Oh, we got a trolley on our left. Those are great. Those are another great way to see Boston. Except those don't go on the river. If they do, something's gone horribly wrong. Now, on the left, we're going to go by the New England Telephone and Telegraph Company building. Today, it is owned by Verizon, which is still a phone company. Did you know that the telephone was invented in Boston about 150 years ago by a guy named Alexander Graham Bell, right down the street from here. At that, on our left, we're going to go by the John F. Kennedy Federal Building, named for President John F. Kennedy, 35th President of the United States and one of 4 presidents born in Massachusetts. After that, we're going to go by Boston City Hall. This building has been City Hall since it opened in 1969. That's on our left. We're going to go by the Government Center train station, and then we're going to go by the Big Gold Tea Kettle. People love the Big Gold Tea Kettle. Today it hangs in front of Starbucks, but that thing dates back to the 1870s when it was in front of a tea shop here in Boston. Now, if you keep looking down the street to the left, at the end of the street, you're going to see an old red brick building. That's called the Old State House. It's the oldest public building in the city of Boston. Been there since 1713, over 300 years. Today, it is a museum. Coming up on our left, we're going to go by the oldest European burying ground in the city of Boston, the King's Chapel Burying Ground. This is where many of the original Puritan settlers of Boston are buried, including their first governor, John Winthrop. Now, behind the King's Chapel Burying Ground is Boston's Old City Hall. Old City Hall, much nicer looking than New City Hall. That building was City Hall from 1865 till 1969. When they opened the new City Hall. Today it's mostly an office building, but there is a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse on the first floor. Chapel Burying Ground is, you guessed it, the King's Chapel. Then we got the Omni Parker House Hotel, the oldest continually operated hotel in the United States. It's been open since 1855, and it's the birthplace of Boston cream pie. Further down the street on our left is the Charles Playhouse. Charles Playhouse has been Boston's home for Blue Man Group for over 30 years. If you want to see Blue Man Group, that's a great place to do it. Yourselves one last big quack. Ready? Order up. And finally, if you do not have any cash today, gratuities for a job well done are also accepted through Venmo. I've been Chef Wolfgang Duck. Thank you for